A person with dyslexia may be very good at seeing patterns and solving problems, imagining and rotating objects in their heads, telling stories and making people laugh, taking things apart, understanding how they work, and figuring out how to put them together again. Inventing, drawing, painting, and making things. Seeing the bigger picture. Dyslexic people can do a lot of things. They just might do them in a different way to how others would, and many of them have even become famous for it. There have been many famous dyslexic inventors, writers, scientists, business people, astronomers, paleontologists, actors, cooks, singers, artists, architects, and so on. Dyslexic people have changed the world. See dyslexia differently.
Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel, Miss Catalina. That's Katalina. Before I go on, I would like to acknowledge the Boonwurrung and the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation on whose land that I'm on. I would also like to acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that this land was never ceded, always has been, always will be Aboriginal land. So this video is about dyslexia. Dyslexia is something that I really ever talk about, and it's something that I have, but it doesn't own me. So dyslexia is like a learning disorder. So people are still able to succeed in their life and whatever they want to succeed in. It just is a little bit different than most people. For someone who has dyslexia, our brain works like it's a little bit of a delay kind of a thing. I don't know what the proper term is, because I've actually had to work through my own dyslexia on my own and figure it out by myself. So I might not have known the name dyslexia, but I definitely knew that I was very different and unique from other kids in school. So when I was little, the teacher would have to tell me that they would actually use the word special. This one is a bit special. They need special attention. I can't exactly the word. I knew you always use the word special, but there were other words that we use. I went to school and it was in the late 70s or early 80s, whenever it was. I can't remember. No, I want to be the late 70s. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Sorry. It was the late 80s or mid 80s, whenever it was. It was the early 80s that I went to primary school, and the teachers had no idea what to do with me because I literally was not learning the same way other kids did. I wasn't comprehending things. So at one school in particular, they separated me. So I had to go to a different, they really knew that I was really, and they would really strongly use the word special. There's one particular school that I went to, a primary school, and they thought, well, this child here is really, really special, because I would say really, really unique, because not only was I behind than the other kids, I was also going to school wearing lipstick, my mum's red lipstick, my mother's platform heels, and her denim overalls, which is something that I absolutely love to this day, and I think that's probably why I'd wear all my mum's stuff to school, and they just thought there's something wrong with this child. Clearly there wasn't. I was just more advanced than most kids when it came to fashion, and now the sun is shining. They said I needed to be in a different class than the kids. I don't know what that meant. I don't know exactly why they did that, why they said that, but I remember I never went to class, the same class as everybody else. Maybe once a week I did, I think when they're doing arts and crafts, but for the most part, I was in I think she was the secretary. I don't know who she was, but she had her own office or own little room. No, I think she was the receptionist, and I would sit in her back office, and I would do some other stuff for her. So I think I would be doing things for the classroom, like if there was posters, or there was things that the classrooms needed. And I would actually do that. I would cut things up, I would glue things, and I would literally do that through the whole school period. And I would go and play with the kids when it was lunchtime, playtime, but then I would go straight back to my little room. I was put in that room. I wasn't learning anything. I was just cutting things up, and I don't know what I was doing. There were so many things that I can't even remember what I was doing, but it was nothing educational. One thing I did do was, I laugh about it now, but I used to steal like $5, sometimes $20 from that lady who put me in there. I would steal from her because she'd have her bag open and I'll take some money. I went to different primary schools and they would put me in the class. They wouldn't separate me. It was just the school alone that separated me. And when I think about it, I was the first Samoan student to be at this primary school. So I don't know if they thought, okay, maybe because, because they are Samoan and, they like to dress up, maybe. I don't know. But it was just, when I think about it, okay. But anyways, but every other school that I went to, the primary school, because we've moved a lot, they never did that. They just left me there and they didn't really care. When I went into high school, one of the high schools I went to, because I moved a lot, in like 2 different towns, one particular school actually had a syndicate, and they call it the Special Education Syndicate. So that's for people with learning disorders. They had their own special unit. So I was placed in there, and that actually worked really, really great, because they would figure out and work out, okay, this is what I don't know, this is what I need to know to catch up. So they would actually, I remember, they were teaching me how to spell and, like an A and D, the, T-H-E. I was 16. No, sorry. I was 13, I think. I was 13. And I did not know how to spell anything. I knew nothing. And so here I am at 13 years old. I was learning things that 6-year-olds or 7 or 8-year-olds, what kids were learning in primary school, I was learning that in high school, because I could not spell a single thing. See, I didn't actually know that spelling was important, that you had to learn how to spell, because I really didn't think that eventually that you're going to have to write things or read. I just didn't know. That was how severe my dyslexia was. And then learning words, how to spell the simplest words, was like really new for me. It was really empowering as well. Like, I felt so powerful. But then we would move again. So we moved to another town, and in that high school, when I went to that high school, they didn't have that for me. They had nothing. So I was placed in with all the other kids, and so they were all ahead of me and I was all behind, and it became so frustrating that I struggled. So every class I went to, I was learning nothing. And then one time when I did get expelled, and this is how I got expelled and never went back to school. I was 14 years old, 13 or 14, I think. I really can't remember, but it was I can't remember if it was maths or some class, and the teacher was frustrated that I was like drifting away, just because I wasn't comprehending anything. And she told me off, and I was really, really embarrassed. And because it was so frustrating, I couldn't understand anything. And I think I was overwhelmed, and I think I was tired. I was tired because the only thing I learnt And that high school was when I did typing class. I learned how to type, or touch type. But everything else, maths, science, all that stuff, I wasn't learning anything. And in this particular class, because the teacher got frustrated, she yelled at me, and I don't know what she said, but she really, really hit a nerve in me that I had this big textbook and I just threw it at her. It was so heavy that I just threw it at her, and she told me to get out. I got expelled, and I never went back to school ever since. But don't do that. Don't do that. That does not work. So, in saying all that, I do believe that every school should have something that accommodates different students with a learning disorder. It's so important. I mean, all the schools that I went to a lot of different schools, and I never had that. And I think it's important. I mean, to help one child is better than not helping anybody. I mean, it's better to help one child, and then to see them, fail at everything when there was potential, there was an opportunity to give them the skill sets that they could have had. So so it's important to have that in place in all schools, wherever you are.